Ahoy there, mateys! Today we're setting sail on a completely new adventure. 1 week of luxury sailing around the breathtaking Croatian coast. We've been invited by our friends at Sailing Vreneli, and I want to show you the most pristine islands, the clearest waters, the weirdest fish, and in general the ultimate Mediterranean experience aboard a luxury catamaran. So let's check it out. Our journey begins in Zadar, a short hop from most European cities. And in true Croatian fashion, we kick things off with a shot of absolutely disgusting slivovitz. Because what better way is there to start a holiday? After a very deep sleep, we woke up to the beautiful sunshine and turquoise waters of the Croatian coast. Now let's meet the vessel Vreneli. A stunning 46-foot Nautitech catamaran, that's about 13.8 meters for the metrically inclined, and let me tell you, this thing is luxurious. Designed for long-distance sailing, it's got everything you could need. Air conditioning, a full kitchen, ample storage, and space galore. I mean, this thing could easily fit 12 people for a day trip, but with just the 4 of us, we are living in absolute luxury. Now, I don't want to pretend like I know too much about catamarans and yachts, but this is definitely right up there with some of the most amazing ones that I've ever visited. And yes, I have been sailing a few times before, so this is probably my 5th, I believe, sailing trip. And I was definitely looking forward to it, especially because Yang had never been on a boat before like this. And to spend a whole week on the Croatian coast, what an amazing experience. Now, as you can see, there's lots of outside space, lots of hatches, and got a very, very comfortable and very high positioned flybridge, which is very, very nice because you can hang out up there and see so far. But let's be honest, what's inside is even more important. Now, this is one of 3 bedrooms, and this is our palatial cabin. I have to say, it might look small, but by boat standards, this is very big, and especially having such a wide bed. And even more importantly, air conditioning. I'll tell you more about that in a bit. But so cool having these little hatches here and windows. You can look out. It does a good job of keeping it dark too. The bed was super comfortable. The bedding provided by our hosts, absolutely immaculate. Little steps and also little nooks and crannies where obviously I've lost my plier case and some random weight. But the absolute highlight of this room is the air conditioning. And let me tell you something, air conditioning runs on solar power, so it is luxury without guilt. And yeah, I mean, just floating around air conditioned on the ocean in the Mediterranean, I think that's pretty cool, definitely. Let's go into the bathroom. Look at that, beautiful. The views of the Mediterranean inclusive. Here we have the shower. Toilet is over here. Here we are in the front bedroom. That is now not a bedroom, but a storage room for beer and fishing stuff. Excited?
Yes, let's get some sun.
Absolutely. Now going into the common area of the boat. Here you'll find the boat controls or the control panel. And yeah, it's a little bit messy because we started filming after we destroyed pretty much everything on our first raucous night. But, we were able to work even in the middle of the ocean because of the Starlink internet, which I'll show you later. Here's my fishing box. I was extremely excited to try and catch some fish, but more on that later. Now, as you can see, the luxury does not stop because there's even a dishwasher and not just 1, but 2 very big fridges. Now, we did have some stuff inside, but we still needed to go and do a provisioning run. Our first stop was a local farmer stand. This is one of the things I love about Croatia. You can get ultra fresh produce from local farmers at roadside stalls pretty much everywhere. And of course, we also got some very delicious meat, which I will show you later. After dropping off our shopping at the catamaran, we decided to have dinner at the Marco Grill. This is a pretty typical Croatian restaurant. The prices were fair, the staff was super friendly, and the outdoor seating was perfect at sunset. What a way to start the trip. And since Croatia is known for its food, we went for an octopus salad to start, followed by a creamy prawn risotto. And for our main, we had an incredible barbecue platter. Loads of different meats grilled to perfection. And of course, we finished off the meal with an obligatory free shot. And finally, the next day, it was time to set sail. We had been waiting for the ideal weather window, and this was it. 5 days ahead of us with absolutely perfect conditions. Captain Fred was happy with our exit from the marina and explained that for this stretch we'd be motoring. Of course, as soon as it was allowed, I had to get straight to fishing. We spotted some fish in the distance, but unfortunately no tuna for us on this particular day. But honestly, that didn't matter. The sun was shining, it was warm, and we were just soaking up the incredible Mediterranean atmosphere. And before we knew it, we had arrived at our first mooring. Now, when stopping for the night, you can either moor or anchor. This time we opted for a mooring because it's more secure. But in any case, we settled in for the evening and got ready for dinner. And what was on the menu? Our €8 steaks, cooked to perfection on the boat's very own barbecue. Everyone pitched in, and pretty soon we were dining under the stars with the ocean gently rocking beneath us. And we actually called it an early night because the next day we were heading even further from civilization. Because the further out you go, the more perfect the islands and the clearer the water. And we were just getting started. So the next morning we were ready to continue. The Starlink here keeping us connected. But more importantly, today we were about to experience some real sailing. Captain Fred had mapped out our route, taking us through multiple islands. Now, raising the sails can be done automatically, but apparently doing it manually is more authentic. Now, I wasn't about to argue. I was more than happy to sit back and let the pros handle it. And then, pretty soon, we were looking at the silence of the ocean while sailing along. And then the first surprise of the day, dolphins. I didn't even know there were dolphins in Croatia. So seeing a whole pod swim up to us was absolutely incredible. And Yang was absolutely over the moon. And to my surprise, Yang actually took control of the boat for a while. This was her first time on a catamaran, and suddenly here she is at the helm. I wasn't too sure how to feel about that, but she was clearly loving it. There's something about being up on the flybridge, feeling the wind in your hair, or no hair in my case, and gliding across the ocean. That just makes you feel like a true pirate. Thanks to Fred though, we did get a few more pointers and improve our sailing technique. Now here you can see how responsive this boat is. It literally turns almost on a dime as far as boats go. Then we arrived at our next island, and already we could see that there were far fewer boats and catamarans in the area. We were super excited. And looking around, there is one thing that you need to know. You won't see it in this video because otherwise it'll get banned. But here Yang is very interested in what's going on in the next boat, because in Croatia you will find that people sail absolutely naked. And after that eye-opening experience, it was time to jump into the cool waters of the Mediterranean. Now you might be wondering, how do you get to land if you've got a mooring or an anchorage without getting wet? Well, the answer is you go by dinghy. Now, before and after you do anything when you're sailing, you must have what? You must have a shot. You will see that this is a theme that runs throughout this video, obviously, but it definitely will put some hairs on your chest, or in the case of Yang, will turn you into a supermodel. Now, this is not your run-of-the-mill dinghy. This is a carbon fiberglass speedboat, right? Because it absolutely flies. Within a few meters of the boat, we were already skimming across the surface of the Mediterranean at an incredible rate. All this area was pretty calm, but what we didn't know is that once we got around the corner, we were going to hit some pretty extreme and choppy waves. Now, it looks a little bit more dangerous than it was, but honestly, this turned out to be one of the most fun moments of the entire trip. Yeah, I had to make sure nobody went overboard while we were flying down the Croatian coast at high speed. But we had a mission to get to the restaurant called Konobar Kiss. And this is on a tiny island, and there's not much else here at all. And our friends had been raving about it, so expectations were high, and let me tell you, they were absolutely right. The food, incredible. Grilled calamari, fresh fish, chicken, and perfectly cooked beef. A dream dinner.
I'm drunk.
Do you like the food?
Very much.
Yeah? Very good. Did you enjoy the place? Did you enjoy the boat ride?
Yes, of course.
As you can maybe tell, we had more of those shots that I was talking about. And, you know, after flying across the ocean back to our boat, we ended up having quite the exciting evening, enjoying drinking and playing games. The next day, we were in serious need of a nice fat breakfast. You know, having breakfast and this view in front of you, turquoise water, so ultra clear. I mean, really, is there a better way to have breakfast? I don't think so. Now, you know, we can never stay still for too long, and indeed, we were getting ready for our next destination. Now, indeed, today was my day to take control of the catamaran. So what was my job? My job was to steer us as close as possible before Fred took over to thread the needle, a super narrow passage between two islands leading into a national park. And I have to say this might be one of the coolest places that I've ever sailed through in my life. Navigating through the tight gap between these islands was both nerve-wracking and exhilarating. The surroundings were stunning. Rugged coastlines, tiny little rustic buildings, cute little restaurants, and the clearest water that I've ever seen. This water is easily 4 to 5 meters deep, but it looks like it's barely a meter. We genuinely didn't think it could get any more beautiful than this, but trust me, it did. After sailing quite a distance, we arrived at our new anchorage. I mean, you can see why it's so popular. The water clarity here is insane. I highly doubt there's a place on Earth where it gets much clearer than this. I mean, if you've ever spent time in ultra clear ocean waters, I can tell you this is absolutely next level. And in this area, we actually started to see a lot more fish, more than in any other spots that we had visited so far. It had really been a good idea to go this far away. As the day went on, the wind died down completely and the entire ocean turned into glass. It was absolutely surreal. Of course, this was the perfect opportunity to try some more fishing, and we even managed to catch some lizardfish. They're edible but kind of small, so we let them go, and instead we opted for another round of steaks. Now, would this be a luxurious experience if you weren't also watching football while having your steak and potatoes? I mean, really, this is just over the top, I have to say, over the top, but absolutely fantastic. Now I hear you say, Dooley, you promised some weird fish. Well, here you go. Here is a very bizarre sea eel, over a meter long. I didn't even know they got this big, but we quickly released it, and after some disappointing fishing luck, we decided to call it a night. Now, on this day, we actually decided to stop at a super posh restaurant. And after drinking our daily dose of bravery, it was time to get on the super cool dinghy, go in and enjoy a fancy dinner together. Here is the ultra extensive menu, and they also have a live tank where you can pick your own seafood, and they have this really nice ice chest with the catches of the day, so you can just choose the fish that you want cooked and then you pay per kilo. Now, this place was really well visited, and I'm not surprised because the food was absolutely delicious. I would say that my favorite was the squid ink risotto, but the mussels were tasty too, as was the octopus salad. Just cannot go wrong. And this was our final stretch. And just like that, 5 days at sea had flown by. I really hope you enjoyed that video, and if you did, please like and subscribe. And I hope to see you next week. See you there.